Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to the Legacy of Supers on HJN. And now here for today, here comes another villain that I got to talk about. This villain, of course, is yet another one that I know very well across most things here and there in pop culture. Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. So, of course, let me just go ahead and start talking about, well, the origin story like I do sometimes. The Green Goblin, of course, first came to be when scientist Norman Osborn, owner of the Oscorp Corporation, wanted to genetically enhance one's immense strength and pretty much create what would eventually come to know as human evolution. But of course, like some other villains here and there, Osborn was one of those that was very impatient and wanted to get something on human evolution right away. So what does Osborn do? Well, what happens is that, well, after a certain super serum had been manufactured, Osborn pretty much becomes the guinea pig to use it. It would be quite an idea. Because what happens is that after the super serum is injected, a lot of pretty immense transformations happen, and physically, well, Norman looked a lot stronger, was a lot stronger by any means. And then, of course, that same serum was apparently able to almost destroy Osborn's thinking power because somehow Osborn could not control the extreme amounts of adrenaline and agility that were coming through thanks to that serum. It was basically like a super powerful steroid, in a way. But of course, what happens eventually is that, well, Norman Osborn eventually constructs a green metallic suit that kind of looks like a goblin. As a result, that's pretty much what the Green Goblin is. But in other series and films, we can pretty much see that the Green Goblin is kind of just well, an actual Green Goblin, and not really just a person inside of a suit. But for the most part, that's what Green Goblin is, especially in the Sam Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man films. Because in the first film alone, that's the first foe we come to witness. The main antagonist is the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, who was played by William Dafoe. And of course, we're going to see William Dafoe a lot more often nowadays. But Dafoe at the time was pretty darn good for the role of Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. So in the film, basically, the Sam Raimi one that is, Green Goblin, of course, like I said, gets injected with the super serum and breaks out of the lab, angry and pretty much mindless. Constructs a green suit and a large hoverboard, in a way. Not like the hoverboard that we have today, but it was an actual hoverboard, like a giant surfboard in a way, or skateboard, with jet thrusters underneath. That would allow the Green Goblin to travel at high speeds while in the air. And of course, it wouldn't be a goblin, pretty much, or Halloween themed in a way, without an assortment of Halloween related weapons and items in a way that the Green Goblin carries around. Like razor bats, pumpkin bombs, and some others here and there. But let's not forget the ending of the first Spider-Man film in the Sam Raimi trilogy. Pretty much involves Green Goblin attempting to spearhead Spider-Man with the front end of the board. But that wouldn't work so well, as Spider-Man had the sixth sense to be able to detect what kind of danger could be nearby. And as a result of that, Tobey Maguire's character was able to dodge the incoming board spears, and it would end up backfiring on Norman Osborn's character really quickly, as the spearheads would stab the Green Goblin right around the midsection, which would kill the main antagonist within seconds. That was almost a sad ending to me. Because watching a main antagonist die right there, I mean, it wasn't an uncommon thing. Because that's pretty much what it would happen. It's pretty much what would happen as the series would go on. So that's pretty much just the Green Goblin as a whole, but I will say for sure that, well, aside from the amount of weapons, abilities, items, and the like that Green Goblin carries around, that pretty much just makes this person a formidable foe out there. And speaking of foe, let's not forget about the 2007 game, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, where Green Goblin would actually become the second boss fight. The first, of course, would be the Dr. Octopus, Doc Ock. Maybe I'll talk more about that villain some other time. Yeah. But if there's someone that I won't talk about some other time, then, well, it'd probably be the offspring of Norman Osborn, Harry, who would eventually get passed on with the Green Goblin sort of thing going on around here and there, and would eventually become something called the New Goblin. We would eventually find this out in Spider-Man 3 in 2007. It was the same year that I got a PlayStation 3 for the first time. And of course, we had ourselves Blu-ray technology for the first time as well. Spider-Man 3 was the first film that we ever watched as a Blu-ray on a PlayStation 3. It was a new film, and we watched it. It was incredible. I loved that film when I was a kid. But looking back at it, there certainly have been a huge handful of other films out there that were a lot better, that had Spider-Man in it. Like the Spider-Man duology of films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but you know what? That's kind of giving it a little too much credit. But in conclusion, the Green Goblin and New Goblin, by the way, they're both pretty formidable foes out there. The Sam Raimi trilogy was especially a highlight to both of these villains when it came time to put them in a film or series of whatever sorts. And of course, they're always films and series that I will remember for all time, because I grew up watching these films and television series, is no doubt, as well as these video games here and there. Well, anyways, that's pretty much all that I got to talk about for the Green Goblin. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.